right now at 5. Yesterday, 20 years ago, tornadoes hit the area, causing an extensive amount of damage to local towns such as Franklin, Kansas.
And no such severe weather in our forecast for us today. We've got cloudy skies and not nearly as warm as we were hoping, but that big warm up this weekend still on the way. We'll take a look at it coming up.
And a judge in Missouri extends the suspension of the Missouri AG's transgender rule.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So not too bad this morning. We definitely stayed a little bit on the mild side overnight, which was nice. We got a lot of much needed rain, not nearly as much as we need, but some rain's better than no rain. And the good news is, especially for our drought-stricken areas, this is not the only rain we're going to get in the next few days.
Okay.
But we are going to get a bit of a pause. We're having an opportunity to dry out. So today, this morning, we still have a few showers out there on the Skywatch Storm Tracker, and these are in the eastern parts of southwest Missouri, and they are on their way out of here. I would show you the loop of them moving on out, but unfortunately, for some reason, it's doing some kind of disco dance, so we'll see if we can get that fixed later. MoDOT camera, 20th and Range Line. Roads are still wet because the rain, of course, just beginning to wrap up across the area. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and 400, so do watch out for some slick spots this morning. Right now in Joplin, we've got those cloudy skies. We're at 56, east-southeast breeze at 11, and so not too bad for an overnight temperature so far. And look at some of these others. 58, Fort Scott, Nevada, 57 in Pittsburgh, 56 Parsons, 55 Miami and Neosho, and 54 in Monette. As we get our morning started, they are going to be a little bit breezy, but nothing too crazy. We were really hoping for these clouds to clear a little faster, but unfortunately, at least right now, it doesn't look like they're going to, and that's going to keep our temperatures down a little lower than what we were hoping yesterday. Could still see an isolated shower or two late morning, and then we are done with the rain for today. Temperatures today lower to mid-70s. Now, if anything changes and these clouds happen to exit earlier, then we'll still make the upper 70s, but right now it looks like the clouds are going to stick around, and they're going to last into the evening and into the early overnight as well. However, the clouds also work as a blanket and help us stay somewhat mild this evening as we only drop back down to the mid-60s. All right. As I mentioned, this isn't the only rain we're going to get. We go into the weekend, we still look at highs pushing near 90 degrees. Saturday still looking like a great day to get things done outside. And we go into Sunday late evening, and shower and thunderstorm chances will return, and we'll have these scattered pop-up storms all the way through next week. And we're talking temperatures, though, still hanging out in the mid to upper 80s, in the lower 80s, upper 70s, so not bad temperature-wise. Much needed rain chances virtually every day next week and into next weekend. And because our daytime highs will be nice and mild, that'll allow our overnight lows to stay nice and mild as well into the mid-60s. However, there's one caveat with this rain. We are in May, and look at these temperatures, quite mild. They could see strong to severe thunderstorms any of these days. That's not to say we'll see strong storms every day, but the atmosphere will be set up. We could see some. So each of these days, bear watching, and of course, we'll keep an eye on them as we head through next week. But that aside, warmer temperatures, much needed rain, not a bad forecast for us coming up. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. Thursday marked 20 years since a deadly tornado killed 19 people and injured 143 in southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri. It also destroyed or damaged thousands of homes. The F3 tornado that hit Carl Junction, Missouri, touched down in Cherokee County, Kansas, before moving through Smithfield and then into Carl Junction. More than 30% of the buildings in the city were damaged, including $6.5 million in damage to schools. That same day, an EF4 twister destroyed about 200 homes in Franklin, Kansas, as well as the post office and the community center. The tornado lifted briefly before touching back down across the state line in rural Barton County, Missouri. In all, that tornado claimed 7 lives. Well, don't forget, you can be the first to know about the day's weather with the KOAM Skywatch weather app. You can get severe weather updates sent straight to your phone free of charge. It's available in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. It's called the KOAM Skywatch weather app. In Allen County, Kansas, a man will not stand trial on charges of first-degree murder. Raymond Maloney faced charges of murder and interference with law enforcement in the death of Richard Deal. Court records show Maloney underwent a mental evaluation earlier this year. Last month, the court held a hearing to review the results. And now the court with prosecution decided that Maloney is not competent to stand trial and is unlikely to become competent in the foreseeable future. He was involuntarily committed to Larned State Security Hospital. The Oklahoma House of Representatives this week voted to approve the Oklahoma Parental Choice Tax Credit Act. The bill would provide tax credits to parents who choose to send their child to a private or charter school outside of their zip code assigned public school. Supporters say it allows families to choose the best source of education for their children, though opponents argue it would prioritize private schools, leaving public schools behind. The bill now heads to Governor Kevin Stitt's desk. And a Missouri judge extended her order barring enforcement of a rule pushed by Attorney General Andrew Bailey. It would require adults and children to undergo more than a year of therapy and fulfill other requirements before they could receive gender-affirming treatments. Treatments include puberty blockers, hormones, and surgery. Bailey says the rule would shield minors from what he describes as experimental medical treatments. The judge originally scheduled a May 11th ruling on the lawsuit. The hearing will now be pushed back to July 20th. Missouri lawmakers met Thursday night to put $2.8 billion towards expanding Interstate 70 across the state. Lawmakers also agreed to add $5 million for an environmental study on Highway 63 from Kabul to Houston and $20 million for an environmental study on the I-44 corridor. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Pitt State and MSSU baseball players earn all MIAA honors. We'll have which players receive them in sports. Plus, due to quick thinking and previous training, a teacher saves a student's life when she came to him choking on food. And how parents worry that social media is causing more issues with their kids when it comes to their mental health. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Well, the MIAA has released its all-conference baseball awards for this season. Pittsburgh State and Missouri Southern combined to put 21 players on the all-MIAA awards list. For Pittsburgh State, pitcher Zach Shoemaker has been named the MIAA Pitcher of the Year and a first-team all-MIAA selection. Shoemaker was 8-2 on the mound for the Gorillas this season with a 3.76 ERA. He had 94 strikeouts in 67 innings. Pitt State catcher Nixon Brannon is the MIAA Co-Player of the Year, as well as a first-team all-conference pick. Brannon was a monster all season. He hit .396 on the year with 15 home runs and a team-high 66 RBIs, which is second most in the MIAA.
It means everything. I worked so hard all offseason just to get this award. Coach Finelli there giving me a great opportunity to come to Pittsburgh and just do everything I could. Created chemistry with the teammates here, and it's been awesome, man.
Just to get acknowledged for the work you put in, it's more than just what you see on the field. There's a lot into it. There's a lot of people behind it. It's not just me, training staff, coaches, strength coaches, teammates. I mean, it's a constant progression of getting better, and getting acknowledged for that's pretty cool.
For Missouri Southern, outfielder Ethan Clark has been named the MIAA Freshman of the Year. Clark was awesome in his first year on the field at Southern. He hit for a team-high 400 average with 15 doubles, 3 home runs, and 54 RBIs. Pitcher Cole Woods is a first-team All-MIAA selection and an MIAA Gold Glove pick. Woods was 9-2 on the mound for the Lions with an MIAA best 3.62 ERA. He was third in the conference with 91 strikeouts. Shortstop Henry Kuziak is also a first-team All-MIAA selection and a Gold Glover. Kuziak hit .348 this season with 17 doubles, 13 home runs, and 55 RBIs. Then one more guy on the All-MIAA first team for Moso, second baseman Nate Myskowski. He did everything this season. Myskowski led the Lions in hits, doubles, triples, and runs scored. His 71 runs scored are the most in the conference this season.
Great honor. It's a very tough league. It's hard for freshmen to play in our league, let alone get freshman of the year. So credit to Ethan. He's just steadily improved in the outfield, and we knew in the fall that, or through the recruiting process, he had some bat speed and some real offensive tools, and he's steadily gotten better, and he's had a great year.
It feels good with the support of my teammates all year. It made my job easy. I just had to go out there and have fun playing the game.
You can check out the complete list of all 21 players earning all MIAA recognition on the sports page at KOAMnewsnow.com. The Missouri Southern Lions are still alive in the MIAA softball tournament in Topeka. Wednesday, Southern rolled by Emporia State 11-3 in the first round. Last night, they were supposed to be on the field in the second round against Rogers State, but that's been postponed due to weather. Instead, the two teams will meet this afternoon with first pitch scheduled for 1:30. The MIAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships begin today in Jefferson City. The Pittsburgh State men are the favorites heading into the weekend to bring home another conference championship. The Gorilla men are the reigning indoor national champs and are ranked #1 in the country. Here's their head coach on what they need to do to make sure they take care of business again this weekend.
Some are preparing themselves for the national championship because they've got a good mark, and now it's just go compete and learn how to compete in pressure and put yourself in a great situation. And others say, well, I've got to still hit a qualifying mark. When we get there, first and foremost, it's about the team. How many points can we score as a team and a whole, and how each individual has their job. So there's a lot of different moving parts that we're trying to accomplish, and how each individual can help the team, help themselves, and better prepare for the national championship.
Still to come, a historian thinks he solved a mystery when it comes to the Mona Lisa. And we've got another check of that warm and eventually wet again forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 5:17 on this finally Friday across the 4 states. Still have some stray showers out there in the eastern part of southwest Missouri. Those will be on their way out of here shortly. And we could see an additional stray shower or two late this morning in southeast Kansas, but they'll be brief and very isolated. Our the MoDOT camera rather, at 20th and Range Line, looking back to the south, looking good, but we still have the wet roads out there. Still the same at the KDOT camera at 69 and 400, just south of Pittsburgh, Kansas. And of course, you can see the shine on those wet roadways from our camera at 7th and Range Line. We are at 56 in Joplin, so at that cloud cover out there, east-southeast breeze at about 11 miles an hour. Across the area, it's not a bad start for us overall, aside from the exiting showers, and those are some much-needed rain showers overnight. We had 58 in Chinook, 56 Parsons, 57 in Pittsburgh, 55 in Miami, Neosho, Carthage, Lamar, and 54 in Monette. As we get our day started, we're going to be a little bit breezy today, but nothing too crazy. However, yesterday, their hope was that these clouds would clear out a little faster, but it looks like they're going to hang on a lot longer than expected. So that is going to keep our temperatures a little lower than what we were hoping. We're into the mid-60s by late morning. We're looking at highs about the lower to mid-70s. So not bad, but just not as warm as we were thinking it was going to get. Now, if these clouds for any reason happen to kick out of here early, then these temperatures will climb into the upper 70s to near 80. But right now it's looking like they're going to hang out with us. And they'll stick with us through the evening and into the early overnight hours as well. However, they also work as a blanket, and that allows us to stay somewhat mild as we only drop back to the mid-60s for our overnight lows. And if you like the warm weather, all you got to do is wait one day, because check this out. We're pushing 90 Saturday and Sunday of this weekend. Saturday's still looking like a pretty good day. If you got any outdoor plans, anything you need to take care of, make sure you dress cool and have something to drink with you, because it's going to be very warm, but otherwise a great day to get outdoors. Then we have more much-needed rain chances virtually every day next week into next weekend. Our temperatures stay mild, hanging out in the upper 70s and into the 80s, and that allows our overnight lows to stay in the 60s. So pretty decent temperatures, some really good rain chances. However, there is the possibility of some strong, possibly severe thunderstorms on any of those days next week. That's not to say it'll be every day, but it is a possibility. So it's something that we'll keep an eye on for you. And if any of those days look like they're going to get a little rougher, we will certainly let you know. Well, teachers' quick thinking and training in the Heimlich maneuver saved one of his students' lives. Jeremy Toombs has more on the story.
Rob McCann has devoted 18 years to education, and was just welcomed to Paris High School this past summer. For 12 years prior to that, he served as a lifeguard throughout the Bluegrass area.
I was the assistant aquatics director for the Pavilion, which is in Georgetown, and then the assistant aquatics director for Falling Springs, which was in Versailles.
On Wednesday, he put that past experience to use in an emergency during lunch. McCann says a student was choking on her food, and her face was growing discolored.
She initially kind of gave the international, I'm choking to her friends, and I don't think they kind of maybe realized what was going on.
She then came up to him, making that same signal.
And then I did the Heimlich maneuver 3 times, and then finally she was able to loosen up.
Fellow faculty members praised their assistant principal as brave, selfless, even heroic. But McCann says what unfolded on Wednesday in this cafeteria was simply part of doing his job.
Really, teachers are changing lives in classrooms all the time. This particular instance was just another, opportunity to act.
McCann says the significance of that opportunity has slowly sunk in, and he's feeling the love from the people of Paris. But most important to him is that his student is safe and well.
That brings us to our question for you this morning. How important is it for you to learn first aid skills? Is it very important, somewhat important, not very important, not important at all? Well, we want to hear from you. Make sure you take time to vote through our website, through the app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. We will return with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the CDC says COVID-19 was the 4th leading cause of death in the U.S. last year based on provisional data. And that's a drop from earlier in the pandemic when it ranked 3rd. Unintentional injuries are once again in that spot, with heart disease and cancer killing the most people. The CDC attributes 1 in 13 deaths last year to COVID as an underlying cause or contributor. Parents' concern over children's use of Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok is growing. In a new survey by the Harris Poll, 50% of American parents believe that social media has caused their children's health to worsen. According to a poll, 95% of today's teenagers say they use social media daily. Children's psychologists say inappropriate social media use can add to existing anxiety and depression for kids. Area residents from Joplin gathered for a town hall meeting to discuss prescription misuse and fentanyl awareness. KOAM's Yana Dula talked with the panelists as well as participants.
The Joplin Area Coalition hosted a town hall meeting to provide education on being safe with prescription drug use and fentanyl.
Probably 2016-17 we were averaging 50 overdose calls a year. 2018-19 we kind of saw an explosion on that. It went well over 100. And it's continued to creep up since then.
Cooch says in the Joplin community, 6 out of 10 pills on the street have fentanyl content in them.
We as a police department and as a community deal with every day. Kids at the school are not unaffected, whether it is addictions that their family members or friends are dealing with, or even themselves. It doesn't have a demographic tied to it by age or any other qualifier.
Some of the participants have experienced drug use and are ready to hear from the panel to make a difference in the issue.
I hope that it helps one addict, save a life. I was an opiate addict for 25 years, so I know all about it, and I'm just happy to be here to listen and get some insight myself, to stay clean.
I think it would just be how to end the fentanyl crisis, really. I mean, it's killing a lot of people. It's a big problem in the United States and all over the world.
The participants and panelists talk about the importance of educating youth.
I've experienced in Narcotics Anonymous, with my 3.5 years of being clean, that you can have fun clean. You can have fun sober. You don't have to be high or drunk or anything like that to have fun.
Drug experimentation now is not what it was a generation ago. So it's kind of changing that perception of harm.
In Joplin, Yana Haudala, KOAM News.
Officer Aaron Gooch reminds residents about the Missouri Good Samaritan law that protects the caller from arrest on drug charges if someone is having a medical emergency. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we've got ourselves some rain clearing out and a cool day for us, a warm weekend and more rain, and we'll talk about all of that when we come back.
Right now at 5:30, Crowder College and MSSU sign a partnership.
And we've got the rain on the way out for today, but more of this much needed rain on the way. And before it gets here, a pretty big warm up. We're going to talk about that coming up.
And the Labette County Emergency Assistance Center celebrates its 25th anniversary.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So we've got ourselves a pretty decent start to the day in terms of temperatures. We got those cloudy skies. We also have a few rain showers lingering in the area. We got some much needed rain last night. We are nowhere near where we need to be in terms of rainfall, but really at this point, as we've said, any rain is better than no rain. We still have some rain showers out there on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. They are on their way out. Later this morning, we could see an additional stray shower or two in southeast Kansas. If we do see these, they're going to be extraordinarily short-lived and very isolated. But again, don't worry. I know we need the rain, and there's more of it on the way. Well, let's take a look outside. MoDOT camera, 20th in range line. Looking back to the south, we are looking all right so far. Still some wet roads. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and 400, so do be aware of some slick spots. You can see the road's a little bit shiny from our camera at 7th in range line. Not bad temperature-wise, though. We got those cloudy skies, 56 in Joplin, east-southeast breeze at 11 miles an hour. Temperatures around the region, we have 55s, lots of them. Lamar, Carthage, Neosho, Pittsburgh, Parsons, Independence. You got 57 in Chatopa, 58 in Miami as we get this day started. And as we head through the morning, we're going to be a little bit on the breezy side occasionally, but nothing too crazy. But unfortunately, we had really been hoping the clouds would leave a little bit earlier, but it looks like they're going to stick with us for the majority of the day. So it does keep our temperatures down a bit, mid-60s by late morning. They're not bad, just not as warm as we were initially thinking. We're talking low to mid-70s now. However, if these clouds for any reason manage to skedaddle earlier, then we'll see those temperatures push into the upper 70s. As we go through the evening, they do act as a blanket, though, even though they stick with us, and that keeps us mild into the mid-60s for overnight lows, and that sets us up for an extremely warm Saturday as we push near 90 degrees. Some of us may reach that 90-degree mark, near 90 on Sunday, and then late Sunday evening, shower and thunderstorm chances return. And I wanted to show the long range because this has been pretty consistent. These are going to be scattered storm chances, not all-day events, but scattered storm chances every day next week. We'll keep our temperatures mild in the upper 70s to the 80s, overnight lows into the 60s. And we just want to remind you there is the possibility on any of these days of maybe a couple of strong, possibly severe storms. It's not to say every day will be like that, but we will keep an eye on each of those storm chances for you in case they decide to get a little bit rowdy. But otherwise, warm and much needed rain. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. The Labette County Emergency Assistance Center celebrates 25 years of serving the community. On Thursday, the center hosted an open house and ribbon cutting. They provide emergency assistance to Labette County, Kansas residents, such as financial aid and a food pantry. Officials say their mission has remained the same over this last quarter century to help those in need.
Non-perishable items, we do have meats that we get from the food bank in Independence, and sometimes we get bread from Independence, but it's mostly non-perishables that we provide.
The center is located at 301 North 30th Street in Parsons. A Joplin Art Gallery hosted an auction to support those in need. Local Color Art Gallery hosted its spring open house. During the event, people were able to bid on art pieces created by 18 award-winning local artists. All of the money raised from the auction will benefit the Ronald McDonald House of the 4 states.
It's the community that supported us for the last 25 years. And now here we are among the artists that are doing that for us. It feels always good to be at a local organization where local artists can actually earn a living.
The art pieces up for auction include original paintings, glass and resin art, jewelry, 3D glass, leatherworks, stained glass, wood turnings, and furniture. Missouri Southern and Crowder College sign a memorandum of understanding. The agreement creates a 2+2 program for social work and healthcare administration students. Those programs will make it easier for those students to transfer to Missouri Southern after completing their associate degrees from Crowder.
I try to get students passionate about the field and inspire them, and then we hand them off to our partners, such as Missouri Southern's program. We are very confident. We have past instructors from Crowder that now work with Southern.
The presidents of both schools signed the agreement at the Arnold Farber building on Crowder's Neosho campus. It's graduation time for Kansas City University medical students in Joplin, and KOAM's Amber Jenkins caught up with one student who made the switch from automotives to medicine.
I didn't dare think that I could be a doctor. It was still like this unachievable dream.
In less than a week, David's dreams of becoming a doctor will become a reality. But before the white coat, he was wearing coveralls in a mechanic shop.
I just didn't feel right in that position. And I had my own business even, and I tried to make that work, and it just was never the right fit for me.
David spent the first chunk of his life working on cars before he decided to pursue medicine. Even though he's older than the average medical student, he knows he can still impact the world.
And that'll allow me, probably a good 20 years still to put in a good career as a surgeon, and I decided that was enough time to make it worth the effort.
After graduation, David is going to start his residency, specializing in rural surgery. However, he notices that cars and medicine aren't so different.
It has a frame, just like a car, but we call them bones. It has fluids, just like a car has oil and coolant. Your body has blood flowing through it.
David wasn't alone on his 4-year journey through medical school. He found comfort in relating to his own college kids.
It was fun to see also the differences of, he's my dad and I'm his daughter, and we're both in college at the same time. A little irony there. So seeing his growth as a person, not only with his education, but just with himself, it's comforting knowing that he can develop into something that is wonderful.
Obviously took long, hard hours, but I'm glad I did it, and I think it'll serve me well.
Reporting in Joplin, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
David's long-term goal is to volunteer for an international hospital ship to give aid to those around the world. Well, this morning, we're discussing first aid skills.
Yeah, Rob McCann has spent 18 years to education and was just welcomed to Paris High School this past summer. For 12 years prior to that, he served as a lifeguard throughout the Bluegrass area.
On Wednesday, he put that past experience to use in an emergency during lunch. McCann says a student was choking on her food.
McCann says the significance of that opportunity has slowly sunk in, and he's feeling the love from the people of Paris. But most important to him is that his student is safe and well. And that brings us to our question for you this morning. How important is it to you to learn first aid skills? So far, 84% of you say it is very important. 16% of you say it is important. You've got a few other choices there, and you got time to vote. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. You can do so in our handy-dandy app, and of course, take part in the discussion on our Facebook page.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, the world may have had Mr. Rogers, but one community has someone known as Mr. Hippie. He helps encourage kids to learn to love to read.
Plus, with 1 day to go until coronation, Britain is busy preparing for the coronation of its newest king. We'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, police have arrested a 21-year-old suspect in Serbia's second mass shooting in as many days. Officials say he killed at least 8 people and wounded 13 others in several villages southeast of Belgrade Thursday night. Police then launched a massive manhunt involving hundreds of officers and special forces. Serbia's Ministry of Interior is calling the shooting an act of domestic terrorism. A historian believes he has solved a mystery surrounding one of the best-known artworks in the world. Silvano Vincenti announced Thursday that he has identified the location painted behind Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. Wow. He says the bridge pictured in the famous painting is the Romito Bridge in the nearby Tuscan town of Laterina. The historian made a virtual reconstruction of the bridge to show the similarities between it and the painting, and pointed to a stretch of territory that he says corresponds to what Da Vinci portrayed in the artwork's landscape. Anticipation is building across the pond as we are now just one day away from the coronation of Britain's King Charles. Ian Lee reports from London.
Royal rehearsals have been running around the clock for the dawn of a new era in Britain when King Charles is crowned on Saturday. Practice makes perfect for the more than 6,000 troops taking part in the royal procession. The coronation is expected to draw hundreds of thousands of well-wishers to London.
God save the king!
Many have been camping out.
If you could say anything to the king, what would you like to say?
I would like to say thank you for what you've done up to now and good luck.
King Charles will be the 40th monarch crowned at Westminster Abbey, a tradition dating back to William the Conqueror in 1066.
I admire that they've kept their history and everybody still respects it.
The 74-year-old will be crowned alongside his wife Camilla, the Queen Consort, in front of roughly 2,000 guests. A much smaller ceremony than his mother's coronation in 1953. Students from the King's former elementary school are already celebrating. King Charles was the first monarch to be educated outside the palace.
It's just so fun to think the king went to our school, like he's worn our uniform.
On Coronation Day, he'll be wearing a new uniform and crown, along with the weight of a nation and future of the monarchy. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
This will be the first time the royal family will be at Westminster Abbey since the funeral of Queen Elizabeth last September. Prince Harry will attend his father's coronation despite their troubled relationship. His wife Meghan and their children will stay home in California. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 5:46 on this Friday morning. So we got a few showers starting to exit the area, and we could see a couple of isolated showers in southeast Kansas later this morning, but we're going to pause the rain for at least today and tomorrow before we see it return for the majority of next week. MoDOT camera at 20th and Rangeline, looking to the south, looking good. The road's still a little bit shiny. They're still a bit wet. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and 400. So again, do be prepared for some slick spots out there. And you can see the shiny roads here in our camera at 7th and Rangeline. Got some cloudy skies out there in Joplin, 56 right now with an east-southeast breeze at 11 miles an hour. Taking a look at temperatures across the area, we've got 58 in Chanute, 55 in Parsons, Pittsburgh, Independence, Lamar, Carthage, Neosho, Anderson, Grove, and Veneta, and Jay, and Ben. The point is, there's a lot of 55-degree readings out there. 58 in Miami and 57 in Nevada. And as we get our day started, we're going to be a little breezy today, but nothing too crazy. And we're going to hold on to the cloud cover. So we had initially thought that maybe these clouds were going to get out of here a little sooner, a little faster, but it looks like they're going to stick with us through today and into tonight. And that's going to keep us a little cooler than we'd hoped. We're looking at mid-60s by late morning, highs today pushing low to mid-70s. Now, if something comes up and these clouds say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and go away, then we'll see those upper 70s today. But it's looking likely they're going to stick with us through today into the evening hours and early overnight. But, at night, they act as a blanket. They're going to help actually keep things a little bit warmer. We'll stay into the mid-60s overnight tonight, and that's going to set the stage for a very warm weekend for us. So let's take a look down the road. We'll have mostly decent day for us on Saturday, and temperatures quite warm. I mean, even look at Wichita, Oklahoma City, pushing the 90s out there. Then we get into Sunday evening, and that's when we see our next best chances of showers and thunderstorms across the area, and then that's just going to be the trend all week long. As you can see, they'll stop for a bit during the afternoon hours, and they'll return evening into the overnight. They pause again in the afternoon, then they return again in the evening, and that's going to be the trend for the majority of next week with these scattered shower and thunderstorm chances. So let's talk about that. Near 90 for us as we head through the weekend, so very warm. Saturday, if you've got some outdoor activities, you just want to go out and enjoy, you want to do something outside, that's the day to do it, but you're going to want to dress nice You're going to want to dress comfortably, and you're going to want to make sure you have some water with you because that's going to be quite warm, and it's a lot warmer than where we've been here lately. And then we get into Sunday, still pushing near 90, and we see those evening thunderstorm chances start to build in. And as you can see, these thunderstorm chances are going to actually stick with us every day next week, all the way into next weekend. So we absolutely need the rain. And what it's looking like, as I was showing you, is these will come up in the morning, pause in the afternoon, return in the evening and overnight, pause in the afternoon, and that'll be a kind of a repeated pattern. So daytime hours look good to get things done, and then the evening and into the morning hours is when we'll see those thunderstorms. And even though we've got those storm chances, we're still going to be upper 70s into the 80s, overnight lows in the 60s. And then as Doug mentioned yesterday, there's the possibility on any of these days that a couple of these storms could be strong, possibly severe. It's not saying severe weather every day, but it's a possibility. And of course, we'll keep an eye on each of these days for you and let you know if they decide to get a little out of hand. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
A special community in Texas has their own version of a hometown Mr. Rogers. For more than 3 decades, he's encouraged children to sing and dance, but most importantly, read. Taylor Alanis introduces us to Mr. Kippy.
As it rains on a stormy Thursday morning in Portland, Texas,
I'm singing in the rain.
a ray of sun shines inside the Bell Whittington Public Library.
I'm happy again.
His name is Clifford Charles Edge III, better known as.
And they call me Mr. Kippy.
He's our Mr. Rogers.
Here comes Elephant.
Mr. Kippy hosts story time at schools and libraries in San Patricio County.
It has music and theater and creative dramatics and books and exercise too.
The 60-year-old grew up in Robstown, went to college to study music and theater, eventually getting his master's at TAMUCC.
He makes it fun for kids as well as adults to come into the library.
A career that started 32 years ago.
I saw an ad in a newspaper for Storyteller Wanted, and I thought, oh, I could do that on Saturdays.
What he thought was part-time work turned out to be an 8-to-5 county job.
I thought I would look like a county employee and have a nice tie and suit, and it turned out that did not work very well.
In came his signature overalls.
How many pairs of overalls do you have?
I've kind of lost count. I think it's more than 100. Maybe 200. Cloud overalls. I have blue, red, yellow, green, orange, purple, silver, striped, spotted, birds, dinosaurs.
Mr. Kippy has been bringing smiles to children's faces for over 3 decades. He does about 52 programs a week. One of those children is Natalie Gillespie.
He's the best. I actually went to Mr. Kippy's story time when I was a kid. So once he was old enough, we started coming, and it's just a fun routine that we have every week to come and get out of the house and hear stories.
Freeing the imagination of generations.
I've had a kid before tell me that my grandmother used to see you at story time. Oh no, that means I'm old.
But truly young at heart.
I'm his #1 fan. He's the best.
His bright spirit shining, even on a rainy day.
I love this job because it seems like it makes kids really happy, getting them enthusiastic about books. And I have a job that lets me have fun and be creative.
He seems like a great guy. It's always good to have someone like that in your community. We'll be right back. Hasbro is revamping 3 of its iconic board games for older adults. The toy giant is introducing new versions of Scrabble, Trivial Pursuit, and the Game of Life. On Thursday, the company unveiled the retooled versions in partnership with Hasbro Brands license Ageless Innovation. Each game has been reimagined to make the experience more appealing and easier for seniors, and that includes bigger game pieces that are easier to grasp, larger wording on the boards, and content that's more relatable to an older demographic. Well, the Indianapolis Zoo wants to help a threatened species, and it's putting its money where its mouth is with a challenge. It's offering a $1 million grant to a group that can develop and carry out a plan that will have a measurable and sustainable impact on the future of a species. Now it's inviting field conservationists from around the world to apply. The species they pick must be considered critically endangered, vulnerable, or extinct in the wild.
Oh, we've got ourselves a relatively cloudy day, a little bit breezy from time to time. Temperatures into the mid-60s by late morning and maybe a stray shower or two in southeast Kansas. We'll hold on to those cloudy skies, which keep us a little bit cooler than we were anticipating, as we'll go lower to mid-70s across the area. Clouds stick with us as we head into the evening and early overnight hours, and that keeps us mild, though, as we stay in the mid-60s, and that sets us up to a very warm weekend. Temps reaching near 90 as we go into Saturday, Sunday. Thunderstorm chances return Sunday evening. We'll have scattered storm chances all the way through next week. Temperatures in the 80s and lows in the 60s. We've got more of the KOAM morning news right after this.
Right now at 6, members of the Joplin community engage in a town hall meeting to discuss fentanyl awareness.
We've still got some wet roads and some breezy conditions out there. We'll start to warm up a little bit today, more so this weekend. The latest coming up.
Lawmakers in Missouri sat down to discuss the road to the future by expanding Missouri Interstate 70 across the state.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. Just after 6 o'clock on a finally Friday. We made it.
I know, it's Friday.
It's about time we get here. We got some much needed rain yesterday and overnight last night. Still, again, not where we need to be, but everything helps. We've got some showers still exiting the area, and we could even see a stray shower or two in southeast Kansas late this morning. Be very isolated, very brief, but it is a possibility. Otherwise, we're going to stay dry today. Still have some wet roads. From the MoDOT camera at 20th and Rangeline, you can see it's shaking a little bit. We've got some breezy conditions, but thankfully we're not looking at anything too crazy. Still a little bit on the wet side out in Kansas. This is the KDOT camera at 69 and 400 just south of Pittsburgh. And of course, our camera 7th and Rangeline. The street lights are starting to go down as daylight picks up, but the roads are still wet out there as well. We are at 56 in Joplin. We've got some clouds out there. Southeast breeze at 9 miles an hour. Temperature-wise, not a bad start for us this morning. We have 57 Chinook, 55 Parsons, 58 Miami, 55 Neosho, Carthage, and Lamar. We get our day started, again, a bit breezy from time to time. Maybe that isolated shower or two in southeast Kansas late this morning. And we're a little cooler as we get into the mid-60s just because the clouds aren't looking to go anywhere today. And that's going to keep us in the low to mid-70s as we head through the afternoon. The clouds will stick with us as we go into this evening and into the early overnight, but that keeps us mild overnight as we only drop back into the mid-60s. And that sets us up for this business this weekend, pushing near 90. Saturday, great day to catch up on any outdoor activities, anything you need to do outside. Saturday is the day to do it. And you've even got Sunday, because it'll be late evening Sunday that more much needed rain chances return to the 4 states. And these will be scattered storm chances every day next week. Keeps our temperatures in the 70s, 80s, overnight lows in the 60s. As Doug mentioned before, and just something we're keeping an eye on, each of these days there's the possibility of maybe a strong or severe thunderstorm. That's not to say we'll have strong to severe storms every single day, but 1 or 2 of them could get a little, a little unruly. And if they do so, we will alert you. But otherwise, much needed rain chances and very warm temperatures. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. A Missouri judge extends her order barring enforcement of a rule pushed by Attorney General Andrew Bailey. It would require adults and children to undergo more than a year of therapy and fulfill other requirements before they could receive gender-affirming treatments. Treatments include puberty blockers, hormones, and surgery. Bailey says the rule would shield minors from what he describes as experimental medical treatments. The judge originally scheduled a May 11th ruling on the lawsuit. The hearing will now be pushed back to July 20th. The Oklahoma House of Representatives votes to approve the Oklahoma Parental Choice Tax Credit Act. The bill would provide tax credits to parents who choose to send their child to a private or charter school outside of their zip code assigned public school. Supporters say it allows families to choose the best source of education for their children, though opponents argue it would prioritize private schools, leaving public schools behind. The bill now heads to Governor Kevin Stitt's desk. Missouri lawmakers met Thursday night to put $2.8 billion towards expanding Interstate 70 across the state. Lawmakers also agreed to add $5 million for an environmental study on Highway 63 from Kabul to Houston and $20 million for an environmental study on the I-44 corridor. On Thursday, area residents from Joplin gathered for a town hall meeting to discuss prescription misuse and fentanyl awareness. The Joplin Area Coalition hosted a town hall meeting to provide education on being safe with prescription drug use and fentanyl. Now, Aaron Gooch, school resource officer with the Joplin Police Department, says 6 out of 10 pills on the street have fentanyl content in them. He says drug experimentation nowadays is not the same as a generation ago.
Probably 2016-17, we were averaging 50 overdose calls a year. 2018-19, we kind of saw an explosion on that. It went well over 100, and it's continued to creep up since then. So we're averaging well over 100 now a year.
Officer Aaron Gooch reminds residents about the Missouri Good Samaritan law that protects the caller from arrest on drug charges if someone is having a medical emergency. To be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, you can download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. Well, the royal coronation isn't the only crowning event taking place this weekend. Tomorrow is also the Kentucky Derby Day. And there's one unlikely contender that's a strong favorite. Nicole D'Antonio introduces us to the woman behind the racehorse who could trot away with the crown.
From the hustle and bustle of the nation's capital to the serenity of a Virginia farm.
Hi, Gator. You got your big head in the middle of everything.
A high-powered attorney has come full circle. Amy Moore retired from practicing law in 2016 and moved to Southgate Farm, but says life has not slowed down very much.
Well, it hasn't been too much of a retirement because it's a fairly demanding job, but it's a much less stressful job.
Moore grew up around horses and started riding at 6 years old, but once her career picked up, she had to put her passion on pause.
After a few years, I got too busy to have anything to do with horses.
After leaving law, Moore says she went over budget buying her first horse named Queen Caroline. Taking that bet has led to this weekend's odds-on favorite to win the Kentucky Derby.
You don't wake up and think you've bred a grade 1 winner right off the bat.
That wasn't a feeling you had?
No, I hoped you would be successful.
Forte was Moore's first foal bred from Queen Caroline, and now Moore says she's feeling a different type of stress, but it's all worth it.
I've enjoyed it.
You may change your mind when you're watching Forte race.
Well, that might be stressful.
That may be pretty stressful. Moore is hoping for a hero's return to the farm for Forte, but says she's already filled with pride.
It's kind of a dream come true for me. Whether he wins or loses, I think he's done a lot. He's been very successful. I'm very proud of him.
And the pride is on full display all over the walls of her office.
We're running out of room.
As Moore hopes for another win following the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. At Southgate Farm in Millwood, Virginia, Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News.
They must be doing something right. Forte is already in Kentucky, of course, preparing for the big race. If he wins, he would rank among one of Virginia's most famous horses alongside Secretariat. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, guilty of seditious conspiracy.
4 Proud Boys convicted of seditious conspiracy in relation to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. I'm Jared Hill with how prosecutors turn the rioters' own words against them.
And we take a look at the role of hormone therapy in the treatment of some of the debilitating symptoms of menopause. And Chris returns with another look at your forecast and if the 4 states can expect to dry out for the weekend and how long. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look from the kickoff of Cowtown Days in Baxter Springs, Kansas. Topping Nation Watch this morning, authorities released the official autopsy report for Tyree Nichols. The autopsy released on Thursday found he died of blunt force injuries to his head and declares it a homicide. The medical examiner described internal bleeding and tearing in his brain, severe head and neck injuries, as well as cuts and bruises all over his body. 5 former officers have pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder and other charges related to Nichols' death. 4 people were injured in a chemical plant explosion in Florida Thursday morning. High Springs firefighters responded to the scene of the blast at a company called Air Liquid at 4 a.m. 3 of the injured employees were treated and released from the hospital, but the 4th was airlifted in critical condition. Main Street in the small town of High Springs was closed for 9 hours as firefighters and hazmat teams cleaned up the area. So far, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection says there does not appear to be any real risk to public safety. An Alabama inmate who escaped last year is facing more prison time in connection to the murder of a former corrections official. Casey White pleaded guilty to an escape charge in the Vicky White murder case Thursday, and White now faces 20 years to life in prison. Back in April of 2022, he was awaiting trial for the murder of another woman when he escaped from custody with Vicky White, the assistant director of corrections at the Lauderdale County Detention Center. Both were found days later in Evansville, Indiana, but Vicky White died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound during a police pursuit. Well, the ex-leader of the Proud Boys and 3 other members were convicted of seditious conspiracy in a federal court yesterday for their roles in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Jared Hill has more.
4 members of the far-right Proud Boys were found guilty of seditious conspiracy and other felonies, ending one of the largest and longest trials connected to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol.
The Justice Department will do everything in its power to defend the American people and American democracy.
A 5th defendant, Dominic Pizzola, who used a police riot shield to break through a Capitol window on January 6th, was found not guilty of seditious conspiracy, though he was convicted of other serious charges. Federal prosecutors argued the defendants plotted to unlawfully use force and the crowds to keep former President Trump in office. Although the group's ex-leader, Enrique Tarrio, was not in D.C. on January 6th, prosecutors alleged that he was involved in planning ahead of the attack and pointed to a message he sent during the riot saying, quote, "Make no mistake, we did this."
The jury has spoken, and that's our system of justice. Very disappointed in the verdict.
Defense attorneys argue that it was former President Trump, not their clients, who was to blame for the violence. They're planning to appeal the convictions. Jared Hill, CBS News.
The 4 defendants that were found guilty of seditious conspiracy are facing up to 20 years in prison. That's a look at some of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we've got ourselves some showers clearing out of the area and a cool day and then warmer temperatures this weekend. We'll take a look at that full forecast coming up. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 6:17, and time for a little weather trivia. We want to know, what is the name of the cloud that is sometimes referred to as the mother of pearl cloud? Looks about like that. Is it the aurora borealis, a nucleus cloud, low-level cumulus, or a mammatus cloud? We'll find out the answer in just a moment, but first, a look at the Skywatch storm tracker. Got showers exiting the area, showers just clipping us to the west, and we could see another couple of isolated showers in southeast Kansas as we go through the morning hours. MoDOT camera, 20th and range line, looking to the south. We're looking good so far, and we're still getting the wet roads, of course. This is a view from the KDOT camera at 69 and 400 just south of Pittsburgh. Starting to clear out a little bit, which is nice. We got partly cloudy skies, 56 in Joplin, southeast breeze at 9. So here's the deal on the clouds. I'll get to those in just a moment, but they're going to play a couple of different roles today. 55s, lots of them. Parsons, Pittsburgh, Independence, Lamar, Carthage. We have 58 in Miami, 57 in Chanute, and 54 in Monette. So we get our day started. We could be a little bit on the breezy side today, nothing too crazy, but nonetheless, we got mostly cloudy skies as the expectation through the morning, so that'll keep us cool into the low 60s. There's a couple of possibilities. Right now, it's looking most likely that the clouds are actually going to kind of thicken back up and they're going to stick with us through the today and into tonight. And if that remains true, then our temperatures are going to be a little cooler than we thought, into the lower to mid 70s. However, as we're seeing a little bit this morning, if these clouds actually clear out and they stay out, out. Then we'll see our highs push mid to upper 70s. So it's all determinant on the cloud cover today. The clouds, regardless, help us stay mild tonight as we drop back into the mid 60s for overnight lows. We've got ourselves a pretty decent day out once we get into the afternoon, and we've got a pretty decent Saturday ahead of us as well, and a very warm Saturday also. And then we go into Sunday, late evening and into the overnight hours, start to see more of those much needed rain chances, some scattered showers and thunderstorms into early Monday morning. Then we get a pause in the afternoon. Then as we head into Monday evening and overnight, showers and thunderstorms return and hang on with us until Tuesday morning. Then they pause again. Then by the evening, shower and thunderstorm chances return. They stick with us through the overnight and into Wednesday morning. They pause again, and then we see additional shower and thunderstorm chances. We'll talk about that too here. What is the name of the cloud that is sometimes referred to the mother of pearl cloud? Well, if you happen to guess B, a nacreous cloud, you would be correct. In fact, they are visible mostly in polar regions in the winter and at high latitudes like Alaska, northern Canada, and Scandinavia. All right, we're pushing near 90 this weekend, so Saturday, great day to get things done outside. And then we've got those thunderstorm chances, and they'll kind of be like I was showing you. Morning, evening, afternoons look good, but much needed rain all the way through next weekend. Temperatures 70s, 80s out there, and we've got overnight lows in the 60s. There's the possibility of maybe a strong or severe storm on each of these days, not every day, but maybe one or two here and there. And of course, if that comes up, we will certainly let you know, but otherwise more much needed rain on the way. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, researchers at the Albert Einstein Cancer Center in New York are developing a topical antibacterial drug combination for cancer patients who have skin problems. Acute radiation dermatitis affects about 95% of people undergoing radiation treatment. Doctors hope this low-cost treatment can prevent the most severe cases and help thousands of cancer patients. Well, a new study shows young men addicted to marijuana may be at a higher risk of developing schizophrenia. Researchers found both men and women with what's known as cannabis use disorder were at risk. Schizophrenia cases were higher among men ages 21 to 30. Researchers say the findings highlight the need to expand screening for people who experience mental illness associated with cannabis use. Too much time on the cell phone might be a health risk. That's according to Chinese researchers who found talking on the cell phone for 30 minutes or more a week is linked to a 12% increased risk of high blood pressure. Doctors say keeping calls short could help preserve heart health. Up to 90% of women going through menopause develop sometimes debilitating symptoms. The most effective treatment is hormone therapy, but many doctors will not prescribe it. However, as Dr. Malika Marshall reports, the tide is changing.
When 52-year-old Vogel James developed exhaustion and night sweat, she thought she was coming down with something. But it wasn't the flu, it was menopause.
I was just like, clutch my pearls. What do you mean menopause?
30 years ago, most women like Vogel were given estrogen, often with progesterone, not only to treat menopausal symptoms like hot flashes, fatigue, and mood swings, but also to reduce their risk of chronic disease. Then a landmark study published in JAMA in 2002 found a small increased risk of heart disease and breast cancer in women taking hormones. The women in the study skewed older with an average age of 63, yet women in their 40s and 50s were told to stop using their hormones.
The report led to a great deal of alarm.
Dr. Joanne Manson was a lead author of the study.
And it was never stated by the WHI investigators that women taking hormone therapy should immediately toss their pills and patches, but that is how the results were interpreted.
And a 70 to 80% reduction in the use of hormones, leaving millions of women without relief, and most clinicians not even willing to discuss them as an option. But that's changing.
You should be able to feel the best version of yourself on every single day.
Dr. Tara Iyer is a menopause specialist at the Brigham.
The data, frankly, shows that in healthy, younger women with no contraindications, the benefits far outweigh the risks.
We started on estrogen, and it's been game changer, and that's what I want women to have, is control of their menopause.
Just like she does. Dr. Malika Marshall, CBS News, Boston.
Well, if you're having trouble finding a provider to discuss the risk and benefits of hormones, you can go to the North American Menopause Society website, menopause.org, which provides a list of local clinicians trained in menopause management. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Yeah, and we've got ourselves a relatively decent start to our day. We've still got some wet roads out there. MoDOT camera at 28th and Rangeline. Looking to the south, you can see the shine on the roadways, but shower activity starting to wrap up for us. KDOT camera 69 and 400 just south of Pittsburgh, still showing some wet roadways as well. We're starting to see some sunshine, but if you look off to the west, there's more clouds out there. We're at 56 in Joplin, southeast breeze at 9 miles an hour. And across the area, not too shabby of a start for us. We got 58 Chanute, 55 Parsons, Chatopa, 57 Miami, some 55s Neosho, Carthage, Lamar, and 56 in Nevada. As we get our day started, we're going to be a little bit on the breezy side. We'll have the clouds be around us all day long, and that's going to keep our temperatures a little cooler. And we could see an isolated shower or two across parts of southeast Kansas later this morning, but they'll be brief and limited in nature. Mid-60s by late morning. Because of the cloud cover, we're a little cooler, so we're going to be into the lower to mid-70s today. Now, if for any reason these clouds decide to leave early, it will warm up a bit more. We're talking mid to upper 70s, but the clouds look to stick with us through the day, into the evening and early overnight hours, and that'll let us drop back down to a pretty mild 65 degrees for our overnight lows, setting us up for this, near 90 degrees as we head into Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, great day to get outdoors, take care of business if you've got business to tend to. And then Sunday, still a great day, and then shower and thunderstorm chances will return in the evening hours, and that'll be kind of a trend. We'll have these midday breaks in the shower and thunderstorm chances, and they'll be here overnight into the morning. Overnight into the morning. Overnight into the morning. That's going to kind of be the trend. Temperatures stay in the upper 70s, lower 80s, overnight lows in the 60s, and as we've mentioned, we could see a strong or severe storm on any of these days. It's not saying every day, but any of these days, that is a remote possibility, and of course, if that comes up, we'll let you know, but otherwise, just some additional much-needed rain chances in our forecast. Well, coming up when the KOAM Morning News switches over to Fox 14, we've got a different kind of Jeannie Moose story for you to end the week. A woman is lucky to be alive after a sheriff's deputy in Indiana saved her from choking, and the rescue is caught on dash cam. It's a different kind of feel-good story from the usually funny Jeannie Moose, and it's coming up when the KOAM Morning News makes that switch over to Fox 14 at 7 a.m.
Right now at 6:30, we take a look back at the tornadoes that tore through the four-state communities 4 years ago, the damage done and progress made since then.
And we've got ourselves a pretty decent Friday lined up for us, and even warmer Saturday. We'll talk about the warmer weather and when the rain chances return coming up.
Your city, Missouri also fell victim to the path of destruction 20 years ago, but instead of rebuilding, one woman encouraged restoration instead.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:31. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner, so we're here. It's finally Friday.
Cinco de Mayo.
It is Cinco de Mayo, so excellent opportunity to enjoy Cinco de Mayo, whatever it is. I don't celebrate many things, so whatever you do to celebrate today, just do it responsibly, of course. And today's going to be a fairly decent but cool day to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. Take a look at Skywatch Storm Tracker. You can see showers in southwest Missouri moving out of our area. We do have some scattered showers in the western fringes of our viewing area and could see some additional isolated showers this morning in southeast Kansas, but they will eventually break up and be out of here. MoDOT camera 20th and Rangeline looking to the south. You can see it's shaking in the breeze, and we're going to be a bit breezy today. We're not talking excessive wind gusts, but breezy for sure. That'll help dry the roadways because they're still a little bit on the wet side, and you can see that from the KDOT camera at 69 and 400 just south of Pittsburgh. And our camera at 7th and Rangeline showing some clear skies initially, but clouds off in the background, and those clouds are going to keep us a little cooler today. We're in the mid-50s right now in Joplin, southeast breeze at 9 miles an hour, and mid-50s across the majority of the region. Lots of 55s out there, Pittsburgh, Parsons, Lamar, Miramar, 57 in Miami. We get our day started again a bit breezy, maybe an isolated shower or two in southeast Kansas, mid-60s by late morning. As we head into the afternoon, we're looking at highs lower to mid-70s, mostly cloudy skies. And those clouds will persist through the evening and into the early overnight hours as well, and will stay quite mild, dropping back to 65 for our overnight low. We have a fairly substantial warm-up on the way and some additional rain chances. We'll take a look at all of that here in a few more minutes. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. Thursday marked 20 years since a deadly tornado killed 19 people and injured 143 in southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri. It also destroyed or damaged thousands of homes. The F3 tornado that hit Carl Junction, Missouri, touched down in Cherokee County, Kansas, before moving through Smithfield and then into Carl Junction. More than 30% of the buildings in the city were damaged, including $6.5 million in damages to schools. That same day, an EF4 twister destroyed about 200 homes in Franklin, Kansas, as well as the post office and the community center. The tornado lifted briefly before touching back down across the state line in rural Barton County, Missouri. In all, that tornado claimed 7 lives. Now, along with the Carl Junction tornado, the outbreak hit other parts of Missouri in southwest Missouri. 15 tornadoes in total touched down that day, leaving thousands of buildings damaged. 7 people were killed. Nicolette Zangara introduces us to the woman who spoke up to restore Pierce City's buildings instead of starting over.
20 years ago, a strong tornado damaged portions of the buildings you see behind me. The original plan was to start new again, demolish the old buildings, and build a new Pierce City. But one building owner put her foot down, and it's the reason why these buildings are still here today. Here's her story.
In reality, what Mother Nature didn't put asunder, man did here.
Norma Baccaris purchased one of the original Pierce City buildings in 2002. Her husband passed away months later, leaving her with a storefront, 2 apartments inside a building chocked full of history. When the F3 tornado damaged parts of the building, the power had gone out. City officials began restoring power for some areas, but not the historic strip of buildings.
We're not taking this building down. When are you going to restore our electricity here? Oh no, none of these buildings are going to stay, he said. They're all coming down. You know, who in the sky was directing that kind of information, I do not know.
That was when she picked up the phone and called an attorney who told her she has every right to fight. Even her neighbors questioned her reasoning.
You can rebuild. Just take it all down, Norma. There's no point in trying to save all that. Just take it all down. And I said, I can't afford to build what I have here.
Neighboring businesses and community members stood behind her in support, which has kept Pierce City the way it has always been remembered.
Well, the event that was originally planned for last night was moved to next Friday due to the rain in the forecast. It'll feature free food, entertainment, and a community-wide discussion about how the tornado impacted Pierce City. Well, don't forget, you can be the first to know about the day's weather with the KOAM Skywatch weather app. Get severe weather updates sent straight to your phone, free of charge. It's available in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. The KOAM Skywatch weather app. Well, this morning, we're discussing first aid skills.
Yeah, Rob McCann spent 18 years in education and was just welcomed to Paris High School this past summer. 12 years prior to that, he served as a lifeguard throughout the Bluegrass area.
He put that past experience to use in an emergency during lunch one day. McCann spotted a student choking on her food and performed the Heimlich maneuver.
Now, McCann says the significance of that opportunity has slowly sunk in and he's feeling the love from the people of Paris. But most important to him is that his student is safe and well. And that brings us to our question for you this morning. How important is it for you to learn first aid skills? So far, 86% of you say it's very important, 7% of you say it's somewhat important, and 7% of you say it is important. So make sure you take time to vote through our website, through the app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page.
Well, not only initially learning them, but staying up to date on them is important too, because like the techniques in CPR are changing, like what they recommend that works better. That's why they're changing.
We learn new things all the time, and it's important to stay up to date. And something else you want to stay up to date on is something cool you have to talk about.
Yeah, KOAM has some cool giveaways going on right now. You may not know about these, so here you go. We've got tickets to Silver Dollar City, giving those away until the 7th. That's in 2 days, so make sure you jump on that. And we've got some Tech It Out Fox 14 swag as well. That runs through the end of the month. And we have a Mother's Day coloring contest for a Roku that will run through Mother's Day. So get out your crayons. And we also have a Be Kind to Animals Month sweepstakes for Roku, and that runs through the entire month. Just head over to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com/contest for more information. That's a lot of contest. I like it. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. We've got KOAM's very own Shannon Becker live in studio, ready to wrap up the week with his big 3 news stories.
And we've got some incoming shower and thunderstorm chances as we head into next week through the weekend. We'll talk about that and this very warm weekend we're expecting ahead of us in just a few more minutes. But first, we're going to take another live look from Baxter Springs just ahead of Cowtown Days. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. We've got Shannon Becker in studio this morning to help us close out the week with his big 3 stories of the week.
Yeah,
good morning.
Hey, good morning. What's live and local? Breaking news. Number 3 this week, a missing person. Dakota Patton, his vehicle was found abandoned last week. He's actually been missing since the 25th of April in Labette County. You can see way off the roadway here, his HHR was found. You can submit tips to the KBI. They still have not located him. They have been focusing a search, though, near the Neosho River in Labette County, in Neosho County. Neosho County authorities are also helping the KBI in this search. Number 2, Joplin News First. Tuesday morning is closing. Now that's the 3rd big retailer.
I know.
Yeah, Pier 1.
I heard about this.
Pier 1 goes bye-bye, and then Bed Bath & Beyond. Now I'm not bragging, but Tuesday morning, I think we were the first ones to really say that it went out. Thursday, it was sold to a liquidation company, and they said sometime they could be going out of business. So then when I woke up on Saturday, I was getting all these messages from followers that saying, hey, they're having a going out of business sale. And sure enough, yeah.
Well, I wonder if their official last day will be on a Tuesday morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, she'll be here all week. So Tuesday morning, a lot of people even said, I didn't even know it was in Joplin. Well, not for very much longer.
Right.
Our number 1 story. Did you get to see the blimp? Look at this video. Is that amazing?
No, I missed
the
this.
landing.
But that's pretty cool.
Oh, so cool. My friend, she owns Coley's Cookie Company, and she took that video, and that's the tethering truck that it tethers to. It was just going to get some fuel on Sunday afternoon, but it got real windy, so it stayed for a couple of days. It had had a slumber party, the blimp.
Can you imagine that? Wind in the 4 states?
Oh, yeah, could you? So the cool thing is, though, we had a tipster call me and say, hey, they're going to take off at like 1 o'clock, so we got to catch it when it took off as well. So you can read more about that. It's called Wingfoot 3. On our website, KOAM News Now. And then our bonus story of the week as we kick off May. Every May is Motorcycle Awareness Month, Safety Awareness Month. This is last weekend, a motorcycle crash near 13th and Schifferdecker. Critical injuries, but the driver will survive in that crash. Then also just earlier this week, a motorcycle crash proved fatal in McDonald County. That driver died at the scene.
It always makes me nervous when I see like people just like speed racing their bikes down the road. You know, we don't see any cops, we're going to go for it.
Well, it goes both ways, really. But they're asking drivers and motorcyclists. It's Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. So look both ways. Look again. Use your rearview mirrors.
Give them space.
Oh wow! Because it's better weather and all the bikes are out.
Yes.
That's what happens, obviously, in May.
Very
so
true.
It's going to be a warm weekend. A lot of bikes are going to be out for sure. That's your big 3.
That's very true. All right, well, thank you so much. Let's see if, do you mind sticking around for our Fox 14 show?
I might, maybe.
All right, we'll see you in about an hour.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Time for some Friday birthdays around the 4 states, and we're going to begin in Girard with Colby Eugene Johnson celebrating birthday number 5. Happy birthday, Colby.
All right, Kelsey Moss celebrating birthday number 7 strong in Columbus.
And Grace Shanholzer celebrating birthday number 8. A very happy birthday to you, Grace.
All right, Braxton Palmer turning 10 years old this year. Braxton is in Parsons.
And we've got Riley Horton celebrating birthday number 14 in Carthage with love from Grandma Judy and Grandpa Jim and all of your family. Happy birthday.
Miranda McCready celebrating another year in Chanute, Kansas.
And Christopher Stalling celebrating number 41 in Webb City. A very happy birthday to you.
All right, and then we've got Holly Engelbrecht down in Miami, Oklahoma. Happy birthday, Holly.
And Renee Brown celebrating another year wiser in St. Paul. Happy birthday, Renee.
And the party's in the bus again this weekend. I love this. Julie Thomas, happy birthday in Columbus.
Also in the bus, Linda Baker celebrating number 82. Happy birthday, Linda.
And Elaine Reynolds, happy birthday to you in Columbus.
And we've got Kristen and Robert Fecky celebrating their 11th anniversary. A very happy anniversary to you.
I love these two. Happy anniversary, Kristen and Robert. Dolly Dickens in Parsons, happy birthday.
And Mike Broadwater in Joplin celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday, Mike.
And down in Baxter Springs, along with Cowtown Days, Mike Allen is celebrating his birthday this weekend.
All right, we love celebrating these birthdays and anniversaries. Tanya, where do they need to send them to celebrate with us?
Well, send us your picture, your name, the age, the hometown, any details you need us to know. Birthdays with an S at KOAMnewsnow.com.
And of course, while you're on our website checking out all the cool things it has to offer, make sure you take time to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. It is easy to do. You get great deals from local businesses. Additionally, you get a special birthday message from your friends here at KOAM. So head over to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for that birthday club today. As we take a look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker, still got those scattered showers out in western parts of southeast Kansas. A couple isolated showers a little closer to home as well. These aren't going to last too terribly much longer, but there's still some additional rainfall out there. As we take a look at the MoDOT camera at 20th and Rangeline, looking back to the south, roads are still a little bit on the wet side, and you can see it's shaking in the breeze. It's going to be a little breezy today. You see some sunshine out there, which is not too bad to see. KDOT camera 69 and 400, looking good as well. Still wet though, and the sun is shining. It's just right now it's high enough that you can only see it back on the hotel at Kansas Crossing. Look at this sunrise this morning. So this is what it looks like just looking back to the northwest. It looks absolutely wonderful, but you can see those additional clouds out there. We're at 56 in Joplin, southeast breeze at 9 miles an hour. Across the area, look at all these 55s. We're talking Independence, Parsons, Pittsburgh, Carthage, Lamar, Nevada, Fort Scott, Neosho, Anderson, Grove, so a lot of, and Iola, 55s across the board for a lot of us. You got 57 Miami, Neodesha though, 58 in Chinook, 52 in Monette. As we get our day started, as mentioned, we're going to be a bit breezy. We'll have mostly cloudy skies as more of them are expected to roll in. Isolated shower or two possible in southeast Kansas, and we're into the mid-60s by late morning. And because of the cloud cover, unless something comes up and they just completely clear out earlier than anticipated, it's going to keep us a little cooler today, lower to mid-70s across the region. If the clouds do manage to go away, then we'll make the mid to upper 70s. Cloud cover, though, expected to hang on through the evening, early overnight hours, and we'll drop back down to a pretty decent 65 for our overnight low. And then we've got the rain chances that are going to return, and we've got a very warm weekend ahead of us. At 65 sets us up for temperatures near 90 Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, got some outdoor plans? Get to it, because Saturday's the best day to do it. And you'll have time on Sunday, too, as these thunderstorm chances won't be until late in the evening across the area. Then we've got these thunderstorm chances every day next week into next weekend. So much needed rain chances. And the way it's kind of working out plays out good for everybody. We're getting much needed rain, but it's expected to fall evening, overnight, morning, and then pause in the afternoon and return again evening, overnight, morning. So if you've got some daytime things you need to take care of, you should be able to get that done. Temperatures upper 70s and into the 80s, overnight lows in the 60s. And one other thing we wanted to just point out, we do have the possibility of a strong or severe thunderstorm each day of this week. That's not to say every day we're going to see severe weather. That's not to say that we're seeing a severe weather outbreak or anything like that. But a couple of the storms we see each day could potentially go a little strong, maybe low-grade severe. So if that does happen, of course, we'll be here for you and we'll let you know about those stronger storms. Otherwise, much needed rain, nice warm temperatures, and great overnight lows. Well, we've got the news you need to know before you head out the door coming up. But before we get to that, why don't we go ahead and take a look at what's happening on CBS Mornings.
Hello to you. I'm Gail King. Coming up on CBS Mornings, Emmy-winning actress and singer Keke Palmer will be here with us exclusively in studio to talk about her latest project. It's called Big Boss. That's coming right up on CBS Mornings.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. 20 years ago, a deadly tornado killed 19 people and injured 143 in southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri. It also destroyed or damaged thousands of homes. F3 tornado that hit Carl Junction, Missouri, touched down in Cherokee County, Kansas, before moving through Smithfield and then into Carl Junction. More than 30% of the buildings in the city were damaged, including $6.5 million in damage to schools. That same day, an EF4 tornado destroyed about 200 homes in Franklin, Kansas, as well as the post office and the community center. The tornado lifted briefly before touching back down across the state line in rural Barton County, Missouri. In all, that tornado claimed 7 lives. Well, graduation is quickly approaching for Kansas City University medical students in less than a week. David Kanarowski's dreams of becoming a doctor will become a reality. But before the white coat, he was wearing coveralls in a mechanic shop. Although he's older than the average medical student, he says he knows he can still impact the world. And a Joplin Art Gallery hosted an auction to support those in need. Local Color Art Gallery hosted its spring open house. During the event, people were able to bid on art pieces created by 18 award-winning local artists. All of the money raised from the auction will benefit the Ronald McDonald House of the 4 states. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
We'll have ourselves a fairly cloudy day today, keeping temperatures a little bit on the cool side, but still not bad, low to mid 70s. As we head into the evening, clouds stick with us into the early overnight hours before we start to go partly cloudy, and we'll drop back down eventually to a low right around 65 degrees. Looking ahead, that sets us up for temperatures near 90 through the weekend. We have a pretty decent Saturday, not a bad Sunday. Showers and storms start to move in later in the evening on Sunday, and then we've got scattered storm chances every day next week. Temperatures 70s, 80s, overnight lows in the 60s.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making an enchilada casserole in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
That sounds pretty darn good.
With Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. Well, your morning news also continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. A new documentary tackles what it means to grow up mixed race in America. Coming up on CBS Mornings, the producer and director W. Kumau Bell shares what he hopes the people will take away from the film.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, Pastor Donnie Talent stops by the studio to tell us all about KC Family Day and how you can meet and get your picture taken with KC Wolf.
Plus, we finish off the week with a return visit from our very own Shannon Becker with his big 3 news stories of the week. And that's going to wrap it up for us for now. We will see you back here Monday morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll do it again at noon.